There is a sealed door beneath the Sphinx. The Egyptian government knows it's there. The archaeologists who found it know it's there. And for over 30 years, every request to open it has been denied. This is not a conspiracy theory. It is a documented fact. In 1987, a team of Japanese researchers from Waseda University conducted a seismic survey of the Giza Plateau. They were looking for anomalies, cavities, voids, hidden spaces in the bedrock. What they found changed everything, and then was quietly buried. Their instruments detected a tunnel extending from the left paw of the Sphinx toward the Pyramid of Khafra. They detected a large chamber beneath the Sphinx itself, and they detected another cavity to the northwest, near the pyramid's base. The Egyptian Antiquities Authority acknowledged the findings, and then announced that no excavation would take place, no explanation, no timeline, no future study planned. Just no. What is down there? Why won't they open it? And what does the answer tell us about everything we think we know about ancient Egypt? This is what the evidence says. The Sphinx is the oldest monumental structure on the Giza Plateau. Most Egyptologists will tell you it was built by the pharaoh Khafra around 2500 BCE. That date has been accepted for over a century. It appears in textbooks. It is treated as settled. But the geological evidence tells a different story. In 1991, geologist Robert Schoch, a professor at Boston University, not a fringe theorist, examined the erosion patterns on the Sphinx enclosure walls. What he found was deeply inconvenient for mainstream archaeology. The erosion was caused by water, specifically by prolonged heavy rainfall, the kind of precipitation that cuts deep vertical fissures into limestone over centuries of exposure. This is a distinct erosion signature, different from the horizontal wind and sand erosion that affects everything else on the plateau. The problem? Egypt hasn't had that kind of sustained rainfall for at least 7,000 to 9,000 years. The last time the Giza region experienced wet enough conditions to produce that erosion pattern was during what geologists call the African humid period, which ended roughly 5000 BCE, and possibly earlier. That would place the construction of the Sphinx, or at least the carving of its enclosure, not at 2500 BCE, but somewhere between 7000 and 10,000 BCE, potentially earlier. Schoch presented these findings at the 1992 Geological Society of America convention. His methodology was sound, his credentials were impeccable, and the mainstream archaeology community did not engage with his data. They attacked him personally. One prominent Egyptologist said the idea was nonsense without providing a geological counter-argument. The response from the academic establishment was not scientific rebuttal, it was dismissal. Because the implications of Schoch's findings, if correct, collapse the entire timeline of human civilization as currently taught. If the Sphinx was built before 7000 BCE, it predates the earliest known civilization by thousands of years. It would mean that someone, some organized, technologically capable society, was building monumental structures in Egypt before Sumer, before the early dynastic period, before anything in the standard historical record. And if that's true, what else did they build? What did they know? And where did they go? This is where the sealed chamber becomes critical. Edgar Cayce, the American mystic known as the Sleeping Prophet, spent decades in the early 20th century describing visions of a lost civilization he called Atlantis. Cayce made a specific prediction, that beneath the right paw of the Sphinx there existed a hall of records, a repository of knowledge from a civilization destroyed by a global catastrophe, deliberately hidden and preserved for a future age. Cayce died in 1945. He was not an archaeologist. His claims were dismissed as fantasy. Then the seismic surveys came back. In 1996, a team led by Florida State University working under the auspices of the Shore Foundation, conducted additional seismic and ground-penetrating radar surveys of the Giza Plateau. They detected, beneath the Sphinx and its enclosure, a series of chambers and tunnels. The Egyptian Antiquities Authority halted their work. The team was denied further access. In 1997, another survey using different equipment confirmed the presence of a large rectangular chamber beneath the left paw of the Sphinx, roughly 9 meters below the surface. Access denied again. The pattern is consistent and deliberate. Every independent scientific team that has attempted to investigate what lies beneath the Sphinx has been stopped. Not by lack of evidence, not by inconclusive results, by official Egyptian refusal to permit excavation. The official explanation, when one is given at all, is preservation, that excavation might damage the Sphinx or destabilize the bedrock. But this explanation does not hold up to scrutiny. Archaeological excavations routinely take place around sensitive monuments. The technology to investigate subsurface chambers without disturbing the overlying structure exists and has existed for decades. The real reason, if there is a deliberate concealment, is something else. Let's talk about what we know is already down there, because the sealed chamber under the Sphinx is not the only anomaly at Giza. In 1935, archaeologist Salim Hassan, excavating the area to the east of the Sphinx, discovered a series of rock-cut tombs and, more significantly, a massive shaft now known as the Osiris Shaft. The shaft descends through 3 levels, the deepest of which sits approximately 30 meters below the surface of the plateau. At the bottom of the shaft is a sarcophagus surrounded by water, the water table of the Nile flooding the lowest chamber. The dating of the lowest level of the Osiris Shaft has never been definitively established. The sarcophagus shows signs of extreme age, and the construction of the shaft itself, cut precisely through solid limestone to a depth of 30 meters, represents an engineering feat that mainstream archaeology has never fully explained. In 1987, the same year as the Japanese seismic survey, a French team led by Gilles Dormion and Jean-Patrice Guadin conducted a survey inside the Great Pyramid. Using microgravimetric analysis, they detected cavities in the horizontal passage leading to the Queen's Chamber. They applied for permission to drill exploratory holes. The Egyptian authorities refused. In 2017, the Scan Pyramids project, using muon tomography, a non-invasive technique that uses cosmic ray particles to image the interior of stone structures, detected a large void above the Grand Gallery of the Great Pyramid. The void was confirmed by multiple independent teams using different instruments. It measured at least 30 meters long. Its purpose is unknown. No excavation has been authorized. The pattern at Giza is consistent. Technology reveals hidden spaces. Authorities deny access. The anomalies remain uninvestigated. Now, consider what this means in context. The ancient Egyptians themselves wrote about hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx. The Inventory Stele, a stone tablet discovered at Giza in the 19th century, contains a text that describes the Sphinx as already existing and already ancient when the pharaoh Khufu was alive. According to this text, Khufu did not build the Sphinx. He found it. He restored it. It was already there, already damaged, already a monument to an earlier age. Mainstream Egyptologists dismiss the Inventory Stele as a later fabrication, but the stele's language and style are consistent with Old Kingdom texts, and the claim it makes, that the Sphinx predates the 4th dynasty, aligns precisely with the geological evidence that Robert Schoch presented in 1991. 2 independent lines of evidence from completely different disciplines pointing to the same conclusion. The Sphinx is older than we are told. The Egyptians also preserved a tradition about what lies beneath. The ancient texts refer to a place called the Duat, the underworld, the realm of Osiris, as being specifically located beneath the Giza Plateau. The layout of the pyramid complex, according to researchers like Robert Boval, mirrors the constellation of Orion's Belt as it appeared in the sky around 10,500 BCE. not 2500 BCE, 10,500 BCE. That's not an accident in Egyptian mythology. The Egyptians were obsessed with astronomical precision. They built structures aligned to stars, to solstices, to the movements of celestial bodies across thousands of years. When their texts say the Duat is beneath Giza, and when their monument layouts reference the sky as it appeared 12,000 years ago, they are telling us something about when this complex was originally conceived. And when it was built, something was placed inside it, something they wanted to last. In 2008, the Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass, for many years the Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities and the most powerful gatekeeper of Egyptian archaeological access, announced that a door had been found at the end of a shaft in the Great Pyramid. The shaft, known as the Southern Shaft of the Queen's Chamber, had been explored by a robotic camera in 1993. The camera found a door with metal handles. Hawass announced a new robot would open it. The new robot went in. It drilled through the door. Behind the first door was another passage, and then another door. Hawass said the exploration would continue. It hasn't. Not publicly. Not with any results disclosed. The second door has never been opened. No announcement has been made. The shaft sits unexplored, its contents unknown, the investigation frozen in time at the moment it became most interesting. This is the recurring story of Giza. The moment of discovery is always followed by silence. Why does this matter so much? Because of what the chamber under the Sphinx might contain. The ancient traditions, not just Casey's modern visions, but the older Egyptian texts themselves, describe a repository of knowledge, a place where the records of a previous civilization were stored against the coming catastrophe. The Egyptians called it the House of Thoth. The god Thoth in Egyptian mythology was the keeper of all knowledge, the inventor of writing, the recorder of all things. He was said to have hidden his books beneath the earth in a place that would survive the end of the age. This is not unique to Egypt. The Sumerians described the Me, sacred objects containing the fundamental rules of civilization, preserved against the flood. The ancient Indian texts describe the Akashic records, a complete archive of all knowledge. The Mayans described a vault of ancient wisdom hidden beneath their temples. Every major ancient civilization preserved a tradition of hidden knowledge. A library buried before the catastrophe, a collection of records placed underground so that whatever came after, whatever survived, would have a starting point. The Sphinx sits at the entrance to Giza like a guardian, facing east, facing the sunrise, facing the direction from which new days begin. In Egyptian symbolism, the lion, and the Sphinx is a lion's body, represents the protection of sacred space, the guardian at the threshold. What is it guarding? We don't know. We haven't been allowed to look, but here is what we can say with certainty. There are documented anomalies beneath the Sphinx. Multiple independent scientific teams have confirmed their existence using multiple different technologies. The Egyptian authorities have consistently refused to permit investigation. Every attempt to open the shafts, scan the chambers, or drill exploratory holes has been denied or halted. The Sphinx shows geological erosion consistent with precipitation that ended thousands of years before the date Egyptologists assigned to its construction. An ancient Egyptian text says the Sphinx was already ancient when the pyramid builders were alive. The astronomical alignments at Giza reference the sky as it appeared 12,000 years ago. And every avenue of investigation that might answer the question, who built this, when, and what did they put underneath it, has been systematically closed. There is a sealed door beneath the Sphinx. It has been there for at least thousands of years, possibly much longer. What is behind it may be nothing: empty limestone, ancient rubble, natural voids in the bedrock, or it may be the most significant archaeological discovery in human history. We won't know until someone opens it. And the people who control access to that door have decided, for reasons they have never fully explained, that the rest of the world is not ready to find out. The question is not whether there is something beneath the Sphinx. The question is what it would mean if there was, and why that answer frightens them so much.